All right. So this is your RC test 5. Uh, from medicine to recreational to spiritual substances, drugs offer us a respite from pain, open opportunities for mental exploration and escape from or into altered psychological states. They are our most widely available formal and informal implements for tweaking our mental condition. Okay. Consider the cold beer after a hard day at work, the joint before putting the needle on the record, the midday espresso, the proverbial cigarette break, Adderall during finals week, or painkillers to alleviate undiagnosed or chronic pain. Not to mention the antidepressants to counter a sense of meaninglessness and benzodiazepines because everything causes anxiety. So basically, he's just giving us a list of different drugs that can be used for different things. And what's the need? Why is he doing this? He's trying to tell us that these take us from uh, what they offer us respite from pain. That means they offer us salvation from pain. In short, drugs offer most common part to the sense of psychological health. With a modicum of knowledge, that means a little bit of knowledge, millions of people modify their minds through chemistry every day. Considering the limited resource of time, support networks, money, and patience, accepting the positivism of drugs seems more efficient and more feasible than psychodynamic therapy. This shift implies an expectation that there are quick and easy chemical levers into a wide range of mental states. So, what does this say? This says that drugs are a shortcut to what a range of mental states. Okay, this is what he's saying. Next, drugs are favored tools to foster our values and amplify or attenuate our gregariousness and productivity. What is gregariousness? This is socialization, being a part of a group. Okay, the word Greg, it's a root word. Greg means group. Okay, all right. So now what am I, where am I? Yes, so they serve as release valves for labor and social relations. Socially acceptable drugs such as nicotine, caffeine, and alcohol are thus embedded into common social practices in public spaces. They are aids to efficiency in coffee shop, work culture, and sociability in bars. Cool. Accordingly, these practices coincide with the modern structure of working week. In the morning, we become alert, and in the evening, we relax. In effect, some drugs are made highly accessible as form of self-medication for the common self-diagnosed emotional states of stress, boredom, restlessness, anxiety, discomfort, etc. So basically, he's saying that after work, to relax, most commonly drugs are used. Okay, and it's somehow making us feel like in the morning we are working a lot, and in the evening we are trying to relax. Psychological medications such as Xanax, Ritalin, and aspirin help to modify undesirable behaviors, thought patterns, and perception of pain. Um, it's my duty to tell you, please don't go to a pharmacy and ask for these medicines. A, they're not going to give you over the counter. These are not over the counter drugs. B, you really need to have some kind of psychological issue for you to be taking this. Please don't go modifying your brain chemistry unnecessarily. It causes a lot of unnecessary pain. Okay, anyways, they purport to thread the underlying chemical cause rather than the social, interpersonal, or psychodynamic causes of pathology. Basically, what are they trying to say? They only look at the biological part. Okay, that's the chemical part, but they don't look at, so in a way to explain this particular sentence, you have a problem, you're taking a pill. The problem is not going away. You're just feeling good. Okay, the pill is not doing anything to solve the problem. It's just putting it off. All right, so that's what he's saying. Self-knowledge gained by introspection and dialogue are no longer a primary means for modifying psychological states. By prescribing such medicines, physicians are implicitly admitting that cognitive and behavioral training is insufficient and impractical, and that the brain, of which non-specialists have little explicit knowledge, explicit understanding, is in fact the level where errors occur. So he's trying to say that by prescribing medicines, physicians are accepting that errors occur at a brain level. It's not outside. Okay, indeed, drugs are reliable and effective because they implement the findings of neuroscience and hybrid beings who and supplement, on many cases, substitute for our humanist discourse about self-development and agency. In using such drugs, we become transhuman, hybrid beings who build tools into the regulatory plant of the body. So basically, what's he trying to say? He's trying to say that drugs are reliable and they're effective. Why? Because we are implementing neuroscience and the other supplements, okay, of our humanistic discourse, of our humanistic dialogue to build these drugs. Okay, all right. So recreational drugs, on the other hand, just give me one moment. Where is this? Sorry. Right. So as we can see, recreational drugs, on the other hand, are essentially hedonic tools that allow for stress release. Hedonic is where you're not selfish. In a way, it's selfish and you're thinking of a short-term pleasure. Okay, it's not a long-term plan. Allow for stress release and diminishment of inhibition and sense of responsibility. Avenues of escape are reached through derangement of thought and perception. That means you're reaching an avenue to escape. You're reaching an escape from the reality by disorienting your thought. Okay. Many find pleasure in this transcendence of quotidian experience and transgression of social norms. That means many are finding happiness by transgression is moving through, or how do I put it now? By kind of violating these social norms that are already there. So moving across, trans is move and gress is to go, right? So transgression is move through the social norms. That means you're violating these social norms here and there. There's also Dionysian or spiritual purpose to recreational inebriation. Inebriation is again getting drunk, very, very drunk, which can enable revelations that enhance intimacy and the emotional need for essential existential reflection. Okay, here drugs act as portal into spiritual rituals and otherwise restricted metaphysical spaces. The practice of imbibing a sacred substance is as old as an ascetic and mindfulness practices. Ascetic is what? Ascetic is again giving up, renunciating, giving up. Sab kuch tyag de dena. But in our times, drugs overwhelmingly the most commonly used for tending to this element of the human conditions. Okay. All right. So this was your first fifth test. Let's go look at the questions. The first question says, what does the passage primarily focus on? I think this is pretty easy. It focuses on drugs and the different ways in which drugs can be used for recreation. So ideally, the answer should be B, correct? So my ride is a lot of varied ways. Okay, varied number of ways in which drugs are used for both medicinal and recreational purposes. So your answer to the first question will be B.